Hi there. Welcome to 10 Visits. The purpose of this video is to provide a step-by-step journey through your initial visits with clients. We're going to talk about visits in the prenatal period. We're going to talk about support through the labor, and we will also talk about the postpartum follow-up visits. Ultimately, you could very well be making more than 10 visits to a client, and I'd certainly recommend that you do that. But the videos are called 10 visits. It kind of give a counterpoint to what's usually become kind of the tradition of maybe 2 visits or so before the birth, and then support during the birth, and then a visit or 2 after the birth. It's been my experience as a birth and postpartum caregiver that moms need much, much more than just 2 visits before, in order to set them on a path to being able to have the dream the dream birth that they envision, or to even create the vision for a birth. A lot of mamas haven't even given any thought to that whatsoever, and are confronted in their pregnancies with the reality of giving birth to a baby, and with no real pre-imagination or pre-visioning of what that experience might entail. Medical personnel, if a mom's getting very medical-centered care, are not really looking at the visioning aspect of her process. They view it as a medical event that they can manage with medicine. And most mamas who are coming to a doula are coming to her because she has a different plan in mind for herself and for her body, or desire for herself and for her body and for her baby. For some reason, maybe she didn't feel that she could afford or could find, maybe in some communities, a home birth doula was not available to her. She has no choice if she's going to the hospital, but she would like to not give up her personal birthright as a woman to give birth as unencumbered, unhindered, and unintervened with as possible. So your visits are to help establish rapport with your client and her family. They are to help her to be acquainted with the hospital that she'll be giving birth in. If she doesn't have that information, you as a doula in the community can provide that for her, what is usual in the hospital that she plans to deliver her baby, and what are the circumstances by which she could fall into what's considered a high-risk category, and that high-risk category might preclude some of the things that she wanted to have happen in her birth. The most important thing is to have many visits with clients to see if we can make sure that mamas are nowhere near any of these supposed high-risk categories, and so that there will be no pressure extended upon her when she goes into the hospital, just in a natural progressive labor. The hope is that there'll be no pressure on her to receive any kind of additional anything other than the warm bed, intermittent monitoring, food and drink, which is basically what the mama needs to just allow her body to give birth. On top of that, the emotional support, spiritual support, and just positivity that she can do this, that her body was made to do this, and that she in fact is doing this. She in fact is birthing her baby. Your very, very first visit with the client tends to be the interview. That's the very first time you are meeting with the client and her family. You want to show up for that meeting very poised and ready to discuss your history with birth. If you're a brand new doula, and you're a mama, you can discuss your births and what you've learned from that and what led you to want to be a doula. If you're not yet a mama, you can talk about your passion for birth. You can talk about what called you to take the training and called you to want to be a doula and serve other women. Any experience with child care or child nurturing is definitely a qualifier for you. And just showing your absolute desire to be information bank, to be a cheerleader and supporter of the mom and her family. Very often, the mom is the one who wants a doula, and dad's not quite clear as to why we need this second person. And especially if you're past your training period and the families have to pay now out of pocket. Most insurance companies don't pay for doula care. So it's about selling the fact that these are the wonderful statistics that are involved with having a doula available at your birth. 50 to 75% less likely that you will have a C-section, 80% less likely that you will need any kind of pain medication or request pain medication. All of those statistics are available, and I suggest that you study them. I show a brief video called Special Women. You can borrow that video from me if you're one of my doulas, or you can purchase that video for yourself if you're practicing autonomously. It has a very wonderful 15-minute module that just basically explains to the family what a doula is, what she does, and why she's important to have around. And that's really helpful for the families in trying to work out the budgeting and for moms to really try to explain to dads. Typically that's the way it goes, but not always, but that's typically the way it goes. Mom's trying to explain to dad, what is a doula? Why do we need one of those things? Why do we need to pay more money for one of those things? And once that is explained, I have found that the partners are very, very receptive and go, oh, I didn't know that was available, or, how can we get a doula? So you're showing up, you're giving them a copy of your contract. If you're one of my doulas in training, you still present a contract and the client still signs a contract with you. Excuse me. This is to cement their relationship with you, for them to take agency in the fact that they are signing up with you as their doula, and what exactly you're going to be doing to assist them, which is going to be different than what their medical folks will be doing, and which will be different than what the what the midwives, if they're working with midwives, will provide for them. So you and the family enter into an agreement. Always provide references for yourself. If you already have done some doula work, please feel free. Please contact your clients. Make sure it's okay to give out their information, and then please provide names, phone numbers, email contacts. It'd be nice to tell the families exactly when you worked with these clients, and let them speak, and connect about you and your work. Any kind of childcare work would be good. I, as your teacher, would be most grateful and most happy to recommend you to a client if they need that. So please feel free to put me on your list as a person who can speak to you, your character, your training. So your first visit with the clients is to let them know who you are, let them know what you're going to be helping them with, let them know that you're the best possible person to help them, hear them, listen to their story very, very clearly, show interest in both mom and dad as they're speaking, be curious as to their desire to have a natural birth, a vaginal natural birth, and to show the absolute supreme support for that position for them and their family. That's the very, very first step. That's your very, very first visit. And I'll be back with another little video to talk about visit number 2. Visit number 2 is the visit that you make after the client has actually hired you. And if you're one of our doulas who gets to go work at the Sacred Birthplace, your second visit is you've already established rapport, and now you're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of beginning your doula care. So thank you for listening, and I'll be back soon. Bye.